This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings. Online at madeformorerealty.com.
So an article recently came out stating that the average age of a first-time home buyer is 40 years old. Up from a few years ago, up significantly from about 5 years ago.
How old were you when you bought your first home?
I'm 24.
Wow. So you beat the average by 16 years. Well, obviously, it was probably younger when you first bought your home. I was 31, something like that. And so why do you think that is? Again, does it all come down to affordability?
I don't think affordability has jack to do with it. I don't.
Wow. Okay.
And so here it is. So I was living in a so it comes down to lifestyle choices and priorities. That's what it comes down to. If you went to college and you racked up a ton of college debt,
it's going to be hard for you to buy a home.
It's going to be hard for you to buy a house.
Yeah.
That was a choice you made. Nobody held the gun to your head and told you to do that. Johnny went to a local community college because he had a little scholarship to the local community college for free, right? That was a choice.
Do you need a scholarship to go to a community college?
You don't need a scholarship, but if you want them to pay for it.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I didn't have to pay for the first 2 years. And then Johnny decided, okay, where's the cheapest place that I can finish up my 4-year degree? And it was either going to be, and I ended up in Bakersfield. So I was either going to go to the Naval Academy, which was free, again,
right.
Free 99. You got to commit 5 years afterwards to the military, or Bakersfield. And so I went to Cal State Bakersfield. This was a choice. I'm not saying my choice is right for everybody, but it was a choice. And so where we are in life is a sum.
So you're saying your choices were more conservative fiscally.
So and my choices were geared towards having a house. Like if people are in their 20s and 30s and they're wanting to party, if they're wanting to go on vacations, if they're wanting to have these experiences in life, well, that costs money, right? And if that's your priority, then don't be complaining when you're 40 that you couldn't buy a house.
Well, I guess it's similar to folks waiting to get their driver's license, teenagers waiting to get to their driver's license. We're seeing, I don't know what the average is, but they're waiting till they're in their 20s, mid-20s. I remember when I was old enough to get my driver's license, I had to wait a week, and I thought that was forever. Everyone that I knew got their driver's license on their birthday when they were 16. I had to wait a whole week later.
Oh, man.
And then same thing with kids. People are waiting a lot longer to have kids. And so I think you're right to some degree that they're waiting.
No, there's no some degrry about it, Matt. There's no if somebody
you don't think affordability has anything to do with it? We just talked about that.
I think affordability. Yeah. So what's happened is that people have been empowered to make a lot of bad decisions, and now those decisions are coming home.
What do you mean empowered?
So you can go out and you can get student loans.
Yeah.
Right? The universities have been empowered by students being able to pay their inflated tuition costs to now charge these higher rates.
Right.
And what are you getting for this? What type of tangible product are you getting that you can now walk into the marketplace when you graduate? So Valerie spent 5 years getting a nutrition degree. She would have to spend another 2 years to become a registered dietitian. And at the end of that whole process, her pot of gold at the end of the rainbow was a $70,000 a year job. And she was going to spend way more than that in college for a $70,000 a year job. You've got to be kidding me. So the whole college thing, like people are spending way too much money on something that's not producing a result.
I would agree. It makes sense. Yep.
There are immigrants that come to the country that don't have two pennies to rub together that are buying houses. It is 100% in this country. If you want to, you can figure out how to own a home. There are government programs, there are grant programs, there are ways that you can earn an income. Mm-hmm. But if you don't want to own a house, but you also want to do some other things, well, you can't do both. And so, that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to choices.
They want to go on vacations they can't afford, purchase cars they can't afford, and so a home is not a priority any longer.
I don't think a home really is a priority, and I think the facade of a home being an investment is slowly crumbling. And so people are like, well, why am I going to put a bunch of money down and lock myself into this house that'll be there for a few years when I might want to move anyways?
Yeah.
And then I might make some money on the house. I might not make some money on the house. Like you might have an increase in your bank account, but if you add up all the expenses you had over those few years of home ownership, or is it really a net positive?
Right.
And but short-term interest rates have doubled, or mortgage rates have doubled because they were at ridiculously low prices a few years ago. and they were at ridiculously low prices to stimulate the economy. It shot prices up. So what needs to happen is the government needs to stay out of it. Like let the housing market heal.
Yeah.
Right now, it is starting to heal. You're starting to see more people come to the market. You're starting to see prices soften. Interest rates have not gone down significantly in order to stimulate this change. You're seeing the market heal. And I don't think that the whole 40 thing, I think it's a change in priorities. Is the reason why people are having kids later in life? Is that because they can't afford kids?
Right.
I think it's a change in priorities. It's just a change in priorities. And so you can blame the builders, you can blame interest rates, you can blame college debt, but at the end of the day, who has control over you? You need to accept personal responsibility for where you are in life.
No, that's a great point. So do you see that changing at all, or do you think we're going to continue down this road where we don't prioritize family and owning a home, and we just kind of move towards a society like Europe where our values are just changed and we don't own property anymore?
I think one of the best things out of the Trump presidency so far is a spotlight on that there is another side to the United States, another side of values that has not been vocally heard for nearly 15 years. Like that has not played a role in culture, that has not played a role. You don't see it in television, you don't see it in the movies, and now it's starting to play a role. And so with Skydance potentially buying Paramount, and potentially buying Time Warner and TikTok, I think you're starting to see a cultural shift. Like already in my feed, I'm seeing more people talking about having kids, talking about having bigger families. The joke is now that 4 kids is what 3 kids used to be a few years ago. And so there is this cultural shift in part of the country. And if this continues, I'm curious to see what that happens. I'm more interested in a spiritual or Christian revolution.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in that. I think that would provide more.
Sure. That changes everything.
I think that changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes families, it changes kids, it changes household incomes, it changes everything.
So in the people that you work with, especially under the age of 40, let's say millennials or even Gen Zers, I guess, for goodness sakes, Gen Zers are at the age where they could possibly purchase a home. What characteristics or would you say that you see in those folks that are different from these other people who say that you're saying owning a home is not a priority? What do you see in them, in those younger folks that are interested in buying their first home?
So whether it was me when I bought my first house, 10 years ago, or whether it's somebody who bought a house when he was 19 just a couple of years ago, what I see is that they have a hunger, they have a drive, they have a purpose. There's a reason why they're doing it.
Are they purchasing it for an investment, or are they purchasing it because they want to have a family and live in that house for decades?
It can be both, right? So they might have a family and want to have this house, and then they're going to say, hey, but we know this is a short-term thing. It's a smaller house. We'll turn this into a rental when we move into the next house.
Yeah.
But they have a plan. They're intentional. They're not. Life isn't happening to them.
Right.
They are intentionally going through life, waking up every morning and moving towards their goals. And so if somebody is just wakes up one day and decides they want to own a house, that's going to take some planning, it's going to take some effort, and we're happy to do that. We have so many resources to help guide you through that first-time process of buying a house that there's no reason why you can't do it. But I think too oftentimes people say, hey, I can't because of this, and they use the excuses.
Yeah.
But the excuses are not the real reason. Stop eating out, pay down your credit cards, pay off your student loans, or go back to school or get a job that's going to pay you better. It might not have the hours, might have the flexibility,
right?
But it's going to increase your economic situation. It can improve your economic situation, so you can then go out and buy the home that you're wanting to purchase, or the investments you're wanting to acquire. But there's so much upward mobility in this country. There's no reason why people have a leg to stand on when they complain.
Right. Okay. So you're adamant that it's not the affordability issue that's delaying people buying their first home.
So generally speaking, that's what people would say.
Okay.
But if it's an affordability issue, then why is a 19-year-old buying a triplex? Then why is a 23-year-old buying a home?
Right.
Who just got married, the wife doesn't work, and they have one car. Right. That they made conscious decisions to be able to make those changes or have those things in their lives or not have those things in their life. And so, yes, you can blame affordability, but at the end of the day, blaming somebody else for your problems doesn't solve your problem.
One last question, because we're almost out of time. I've heard many folks saying that during the fall and during the winter, most people that are selling their home go into hibernation, and they're waiting till it's spring to sell their home. Is that what you see? A lot of folks, though, we're going into hibernation when it comes to the real estate market. Real estate market is in hibernation right now. Is that true?
I think the realtors go in hibernation. That's what I think happens.
The what?
The realtors, the real estate agents, they go in hibernation.
Is that what it is?
Thanksgiving kicks off, and until the new year, they're recovering from their stressful year of real estate. But what we end up seeing in our business is our best months are typically July and December. And the reason why is because we keep working, and there are a lot of people out there that want to make the move, that are looking for the right home, that are wanting to sell the home. It could be for tax purposes. It could be because of life events. Generally speaking, do sales go down? Yes, sales do decrease, but so does the active inventory. So it's not as fierce. The competition isn't as fierce as it is in April, May, June.
Right.
If you're selling the house or if you're looking to purchase a home. So if you're looking to get a great deal, December is oftentimes the best time of year as a buyer to get a great deal on a house.